Kenya is probably the world's best-known example of national parks with big game and photo safaris. But there is also another much lesser-known Kenya, Kenya below the water surface. Join the worldwide Fun for Nature expedition and take part in exciting fishing trips to rivers, lakes, and the sea. This is the type of sport fishing which will help preserve original nature and culture. But beware of the hippos. Welcome to Kenya, your home. Most theories say our origins lay here, where the oldest remains of Homo erectus, upright man, have been found. The crocodile is at least 200 million years old. It saw us take our first steps right here, and quite recently, a mere million years ago. East Africa, the cradle of mankind. The past life of species is counted in millions of years, but we look ahead only 1 year at a time. Today, too many species are already extinct and have gone forever from the face of the earth. Homo sapiens, as we now call ourselves, wise man, must try and be wise once more. We should be able to adapt much better to our world, but we don't have another million years. Mount Kenya lies smack on the equator at an altitude of 5,200 meters. A popular spot for climbers and now for sport fishermen too. Would you believe that here on the equator you can find both brown and rainbow trout, two northern hemisphere cold water fish, but only at 3,000 meters and higher altitudes. Here the water from the melted snow maintains a year-round temperature of 18 degrees centigrade. But how can a small sport fishing expedition help with nature conservation? Well, Mount Kenya is the site of a battle between tourism and forest devastation. The Kenyan government is very environment conscious, but resisting powerful interests that want to fell the rainforest on Mount Kenya is no easy job. However, as long as tourism grows and climbers and sport fishermen arrive and spend their money, Kenya can preserve their rainforest and fauna. So this small group wandering along the Naromodu River is clearly doing its own little bit to keep the forestry companies at a safe distance. Now for some fly fishing, and that is very special in a jungle. We are in fact surrounded by most of the large African animals, even up here at 3,000 meters.
Det är elefantskit.
One thing is for certain, you mustn't be afraid of animals here, not even cows. Have no fear, they're not so dangerous. Fly fishing is an old English sport that was formerly the pastime of country gentlemen, considered a little exclusive like golf. But nowadays more and more people are discovering the charm of this special form of sport fishing, where the size of the catch is not the main concern. Instead, it is the feeling of the direct contact with the fish. You hold the line in your hand and all the equipment is so sensitive that you can feel precisely what the fish is doing. The flies alone are a whole science, and there are at least 50,000 fly designs. Enthusiasts tie their own so they can imitate the local insects as far as possible. The The flies are, in principle, weightless. The actual cast weight forms part of the line, but not at the very end. There are the couple of yards of tapered nylon leader, so that the fish can't tell that anything fishy is going on. To launch the fly, you have to swing it through the air while reeling out yard after yard of line. This is where the skill comes in. The equipment seems simple, but it is extremely sophisticated. There are different weights and strengths on the lines and leaders, which sink or float, and the lines must be adapted to the strength of the rod to get the right action for the cast. The reel is technically perfect, despite its simple design, lack of gearing, and just a simple brake.
Ja! Aj! Första hugget idag går i skogen. 4 timmar fiske.
Indeed, many things have to be just right. But what we don't understand at all is how Nicholas, our driver, gets the fish to bite. And now a flying visit to Sweden, where the salmon dance. Here at the Murdrum River is where Ylva Schilberg does her fishing. She's 14 and has been chosen as the expedition's junior. But what difference can there be between fly fishing here and in the dense jungles of Mount Kenya? Well, if the trees aren't harassing you, you can practice your casting. You never stop learning. But Ylva really knows how to cast a fly, and to avoid these evil trees, she switches to the roll technique. She catches rainbow trout too. There's her first. Well, they're not big, just a few ounces. But higher up the river valleys, they weigh a couple of pounds, and sometimes twice that. Even the brown trout. At the moment, however, the road is out, washed away by rain. And we're okay here, with such a fine audience. The colobus monkeys, for example. The waters here were in fact stocked with this fish by the British as long ago as 1912. Nowadays, the rye is imported from Denmark, and the fish are raised in a local hatchery that supplies these mountain rivers with in between 10 and 30,000 fish each year. And stocking fish is not just for sport fishing. Brown and rainbow trout are now the most popular fish eaten by the local Mount Kenya population, who just love them. The locals are used to seeing funny-dressed sport fishermen from all over the world squatting for hours on end in their rivers. But they've never before seen Örjan from Sweden, the lord of the flies. But Örjan, you know you have to look behind you. The rainbow trout stick to the bottom and are on their guard. We're not catching anything on the surface. It's the bottom that is full of insect life. So with a sinking line and wet flies, well, we may catch 100 fish in a couple of days, and we let them all go. We now leave Mount Kenya behind us on our way to catch a completely different and much larger fish who isn't going to be treated this kindly. It lives in Lake Victoria, the Nile perch. We're traveling down the Great Rift Valley, this gigantic 5,000 kilometer long fault that runs right through the continent. We bounce across the savannah with all the animals we'd hope to see, as well as many more. Exactly as we imagined it, Africa. Have you seen a sable antelope before? Or the secretary bird? What do you think is on her mind?
I wonder if I should wear these tights again tomorrow. I see. They're standing over there and filming again. You can never get any peace.
Yes, the animals are getting used to tourists and their cameras. But the alternative are hunters and their rifles. Every year, 800,000 safari tourists visit the area. And so the Kenya government makes great efforts to protect the animals from poachers and extinction, just like in the mountains. Shooting an elephant here can be fatal. Armed game wardens shoot first and ask questions later. And it's not the elephants they aim at. The only people allowed to kill the animals are those who live with them, the Maasai. They perform a welcome dance for us when we arrive at the camp. They have no instruments and make sounds of all kinds in their larynxes. Without a doubt, the savannah's best-known performers. The Maasai are an imposing people, simple, friendly cattle herders, but with a death-defying courage. They have a saying, "A Maasai fears nothing, a Maasai gives way to nothing." It sounds like something from a jungle story, but it is true. They kill wild animals only in self-defense, but they do it with spears and arrows, at close quarters and at the last moment. This courage is instilled at a very early age. When a Maasai boy turned teenager, he was sent out onto the savannah alone, armed with a spear and a small shield. And he was not allowed back until he had killed a lion. Then he was a warrior and a man. This manhood ritual is forbidden by the government, as too many lions are being killed. And now we are about to spend the night under canvas, among all these dangerous beasts. Although the baboons are friendly, of course, sometimes. Our guards for the night are two Maasai warriors armed with poison arrows and spears.
Iko siku mingi sana hiyo kitu nakulanga ng'ombe tena nakula watu. Na saa ile nafanya kitendo kidogo sisi hawezi kuacha mpaka sisi naoa. Lazima. Najua hata sisi hapana ogopa simba. Kama anakuja kama wawe, kama anakuja mpaka nachoma macho na hii mguki. Tena ni kitu moja mbaya ngumu sana akipikana na Maasai ni ndofu. Wakati mwingine naoa hata tena hiyo naoa ng'ombe. Kama saa ile naoa ng'ombe sina tafuta ile mchele ya simu moja. Anapika alafu naocha. Sababu hiyo natosha. Alafu tena hii kitu ndio mbaya sana. Kama napika kitu namaliza kama dakika 5 kitu nakufa. Na tena kwasa kitu ya mbele kama napika nywele natoka kwasa na oso. Alafu hata damu nasimama. Najua hiyo wanyama naogopa Maasai. Kama naona Maasai naenda.
In fact, we do hear the lions roaring during the night, and the Maasai making animal noises to chase them away. Nobody sleeps this night. Before we leave the camp, we've been invited to dance. We're doing all right, aren't we? Lake Victoria is one of the largest lakes in the world, and it feels like an ocean when you're going out on it. It is a very ancient lake, where aquatic fauna have evolved undisturbed for thousands of years. Here there are hundreds of endemic fish species that are found nowhere else. Or there were, to be precise. Nobody knows exactly what is left anymore since the Nile perch arrived on the scene. In the 1960s, the lake was stocked with this gigantic member of the perch family to create a commercial fishing industry, as this is a large and tasty fish. After 10 years, it accounted for no less than 70% of the catch. A very lucrative experiment that worked up to this point. However, man overlooked that this is an extremely voracious fish, without any natural enemies and with a vast appetite for all fauna. The fish that was the previous mainstay of the fishing industry, the cichlids, are becoming increasingly rare. Many cichlids live off algae, and now the algae are increasing. They use up a lot of oxygen, which may soon become almost totally depleted. Then everything will die, even people. Today, the Nile perch is nothing less than an ecological disaster. And it keeps on increasing. You just can't kill off enough of them. We catch as many Nile perch as we have time for and give our catch to the poor villages. And we spend a good deal of money in our brief stay. We can't do anything more. Lake Victoria has a depth of only 100 meters. The Nile perch likes to lurk in hollows, so trolling around islets, rocks, and stony shallows is the method we choose. The perch bite distinctly and then race to the bottom at full speed. They're full of fight, as even Martin gets to experience.
Det här är en bäst alltså. Han var så still. Det var sjömonster. This must be big. Vad fasen? Står bara helt still. Nytt personbästa! Jag tänkte det här ryckte lite dåligt.
Grattis!
Vi behåller den eller?
Ja, den där tar vi hem. Men den kan du nästan stoppa upp om du vill.
But we catch fish too, hundreds of pounds.
Det blir ju samma sak om äta borre vid rödvitt flöte hemma efter det här. Då blir det kul. Den största åpan jag har fått. Håll upp den! Då har Perre fått sin.
Kammare på röken. Vi får ta lite poseringsbilder.
Ja visst. Perre är nöjd nu. Han har fått sin strömfisk. En på cirka 1 kilo här.
Is it really possible to catch a Nile perch with your usual pike wobbler? No way. These guys bite only on American Russell lures.
När vi kom här så körde vi med våra wobbler och de bara skrattade åt oss. Vad som gäller här, det är de här plåtbitarna.
And we didn't believe in these lures, but we've only got 1 out of 20 fish on our own wobblers. So now we only go with these ones. Almost in any case, Örjan just has to try his luck with a fly. Nothing surprises us anymore since he landed a 172-pound beluga sturgeon with fly during our expedition to the Ural River. That was a world record, and here comes another.
Ja!
Wow.
Jag ska ha en liten våg här någonstans.
1,6 väger den här på 6 kilos lina. Alltså det här den första som är tagen på fluga. På en sån här julgransfluga.
Only human beings can, with a great deal of luck, slow down the Nile perch in Lake Victoria through heavy fishing. Of course, they're also eaten by the crocodiles, but there aren't so many of them and nobody wants to increase their numbers. We think it is brave enough standing like this, fishing every day. We don't have to face the crocs, but the sun is a powerful enemy. At the equator, you have to be very careful and put on thick layers of suntan lotion. Protection factor 24 is no exaggeration even when it's cloudy. The solar radiation here is very powerful.
We are going down the boat.
Det här är en fisk. Och det hade sett fisk. Du får titta på Kolla! Sitt nu fram. Sitt nu fram. Sitt fram, André.
The last Nile perch Ilva caught is our largest at 50.6 pounds. We hooked a couple that weighed around 120, but they didn't want to die just then. The record here at Rasinga Island is 264 pounds, but the record for Lake Victoria is 572, more than 11 times this one. Okay, let's go to the Indian Ocean, but first a short stop at the Mara River. There are creatures here that after the malaria mosquito kill more people in Africa than any other animal. The hippopotamus. Yeah? Well, we were warned when they lose their temper, it seems as if they can defeat the laws of nature. In a flash, they've caught up with you and flattened you. They don't eat you, but there are others that will.
Alltså det är ganska otroligt att ha dem så nära in på sig. Men jag måste erkänna att jag sneglar lite grann till höger till och från. Sen är det någon krokodil där också som är att visa sig så att... Ja, är det alltså...
Ha! The first catfish! Of course, it had to be our driver Nicholas again with his dear old hook. That clearly works on all the fish. We also finally catch some fine ones that we release, or which do it themselves.
Ja.
And now for the ocean. And the Inca, a 34-foot Ribblevich sport fisher with twin Penta engines and crammed with Shimano Tritons, Beastmasters and piles of cone heads and flatheads, and bent backs for a comfortable fighting chair. In big game language, this means we are ready for anything at all. The Pemba Channel on the southern frontier with Tanzania is an area famous for good big game. The giant fish, sailfish, marlin, wahoo, and the others. The abundance of fish here is due to the fact that trawling is limited. In every way, sport fishing is better for the area, both financially and ecologically. All the catch goes to the fishing collective who distribute this food to the poor. Ecotourism at its very best. You've heard about the sea teeming with fish, but have you ever seen it? Big game is the complete opposite of fly fishing. Here, the size and strength of the fish is all important, and you won't need to do anything yourself with the equipment. It's owned and operated by the crew. All you do is wait for a bite. And you're completely dependent on finding a good boat with good equipment and crew, and a skipper who really knows how to find the fish. And you've got to have luck and patience. It can take days before you can get a really big one to bite. But we are lucky and we all get to grips with some fast-moving backbreakers. A sailfish, the fastest fish in the ocean. Ava takes it. This bundle of dynamite can reach speeds of over 60 miles an hour, but a bite doesn't mean a catch, and the big fish usually win these fights, which is what happens here. But Ilva does better. After half an hour's struggle, she lands a sailfish. The bigger the fish, the better the fight. After a good big game, you should ache all over.
Kom tillbaks. Nej, så vi har kämpat för de här metrarna. Och så drar han bara ut dem igen.
The best fights last over an hour. It really helps to be in good shape.
Du har ju varit på gym. Vilket år var du på gym?
Ja, kan väl vara 83.
Panic suddenly breaks out on the boat. First, Ava gets a new bite, and seconds later, so does Jürgen. Jürgen puts on his rod belt while the hand tries to make contact with the fish. It swims towards, not away from the boat. Ava's fish dives at full speed to the bottom, emptying the entire reel in a few seconds. 500 yards of line. Jürgen's fish has already torn itself free, and Ava's has only a few yards to swim to freedom when it suddenly stops. Ava begins to fight, inch by inch.
Han måste ju vara 100 meter ner.
After half an hour, the harness comes on to save her back.
Samma stack rättning. Nej, det här är ingen sänkning. Det här är mycket värre.
Den lille bebisen ska upp nu.
Lille bebis.
Så ja, tack. Nej, han går ut. Nej, det är inte sant. Kom tillbaka.
Adjöken fröken. Ja, man går.
Kvinnan och havet.
Man går och går.
Vad han drar. Helt otroligt.
The fight has taken over 1 hour and neither side is giving way.
Åh, titta, såg ni? Är den där? Jo, den är visst där. Är det en annan? Nej, det är den.
We only see its tail fin, so we don't know what it is, but it is big. Ava seems to be doing fine this time, but then Ava happens to touch the brake. The reel releases.
Nej, kom tillbaka.
The line runs free and tangles. Now the reel is blocked. If the fish rushes now, the line will snap.
Shakatika mshipio. Shakatika. Shakatika. Hebu reverse haraka reverse. Reverse haraka.
Full astern, to-wits the fish to slacken the line. The line has to be wound in over the tangle. A last desperate try.
Njoo nyuma tu. Njoo nyuma wewe atakwenda huyu samaki. Na huyu mshipo shakatika huyu. Okay, really quick. Really quick. Sasa nenda mbele hivi. Really? Really? Okay, big one.
A beautiful striped marlin, 110 pounds, a lot of food for a lot of people, and worth many times more than if it had been netted, because now it has earned money for the area as well, and this is what ecotourism is all about.
Lilla bebisen, jag fick upp han till slut.